this transitions
Like, even
into
after the Biju clash, Shikatai still sweating.
I love it. So funny, bro. This transitions into the second thing Cam said. This one's a little bit more brutal. Okay, so let's put our feelings cap on or take it off. Stone cold face here, Mello. Are you prepared for these harsh words Cam has for you?
Sure.
Okay. So this is in reference to your quote. I'm gonna misquote. I don't remember it exactly. It's something along the lines of, Ikimoto is mid, but he's our mid, so we have to accept that. And it's, I forget the rest of the quote, but you know the thing. So let me just pull up Cam's words exactly, so I don't misquote her. At least I can quote one of the people entirely correctly. So Cam says, quote unquote, "Don't be content with mid." Yeah.
Profound.
So hopefully your feelings weren't hurt too much, but this is a part where I have to agree with her, because if I don't, she'd be mad. But hey, yeah, I mean, I probably do anyways. But say, it's about
I'm sorry.
doing
Why
the
is
bare
everybody?
minimum, whatever.
Bro, listen. Once you see the sweat, you can never stop. Like, everyone's fucking. It's always one. Like, oh, even
I gotta look
Konohamaru,
now.
and that ninja that got like fired, like burnt up. He's sweat. Everybody, this is one beat. It's fucking. Now that I see, I can't not see it. Anyways, yeah.
It's in the previous chapter too.
It's like
he doesn't.
It's always there. Yeah.
It's like it's the only way he knows how to illustrate like some
Inoji!
kind of like
Oh my
tension or
God.
concern. It's fucking insane, bro. It's like,
It's
bro,
literally
stop
on
it.
every single panel with these characters.
Yeah, like once you see it, you cannot not see it, bro.
And it's on their
insane.
left cheek every time.
So
Always the
good.
left cheek.
Like I'm looking at is he even when Konohamaru's blocking the bruh, even when he gets flung back, the bead of sweat is still there, bro. This light speed tier bead of sweat, bro. It's crazy. Listen, you don't accept mid under normal conditions, but that's typically if you have some control over, like, fixing what's mid. In this case, like, clearly the bitching about his art style is not helping anything. I can't draw for the brother, so
I take the opposite stance. It's because it's mid that we should be criticizing it, regardless if it changes anything or not.
But like, what's the point of criticizing it at this point? we've been doing that, and nothing has changed.
Well, but in that case, what's the point of supporting it? Because again, nothing's going to change.
Well, if you like the story,
well,
support that.
The criticism in the first place isn't about it changing; it's about pointing out what's bad.
But always like, what's the intent of your actions, right? Like what's yeah. So like, someone leaves a comment in my comment section, right? Like, they're like, "Oh, this video is mid." LOL. What's the intent of that comment? It's like, I don't know, diminish me or make me feel bad. Like, there's no way I can even engage with that. It's not even meant for me to engage. It's just an attack. So I feel like Ikimoto, he is what he is. I mean, isn't he like a grown ass man? Like, do grown ass people, artists, like, improve over their like style? I mean, I would imagine yes, but that's typically like I would imagine like you get exponential increases when you start. It's like working out, but once you do it enough, you just start to get gradual increases. I think I'm seeing those gradual increases. You look at the beginning to where it is now.
Oh, absolutely.
But I don't think it's gonna get like absolutely like god tier, like my hero levels of like art. So with that being the case, it feels like online bullying to me. And I don't like that shit. So I'm like, let me just leave him alone. He's here. They don't seem to want to get rid of him or help him or anything. So am I gonna like keep talking shit and having I think there's like a post he said, like, it sounded so sad. I felt empathy, okay, for him. It was like, I can't remember, it's like some interview he did, like, "Oh, I'm trying to get better. I know I'm not Kishimoto sensei, but I'm trying my best." It was like, I was like, oh, it broke my heart. It's like, damn it, no, let me stop, man. Let me stop.
I think I saw, on the other hand, though, I saw like a thing about Kishimoto and Togashi from Hunter x Hunter, like gassing him up. They're like, "Oh yeah, he's really good." So I was like,
well, obviously they're gonna
settle down.
each other. They live in Japan. That's their culture.
even if he's not, like, what use would you get out of like publicly shaming him like that? So
Well, this
that's why I feel
is
like it's just like it's like mean girl shit. It's like, oh, he sucks, he sucks, he sucks. Yeah, well, what the fuck are you doing to help him?
this is the
Nothing. Okay,
thing.
then stop being an asshole about
It's
it.
about being
Yeah.
honest and transparent. So it's about pointing out the good and bad in all things. It's not just pointing out the bad or just the good. That be
But to
being a
what
hater
end?
or being well, you know the other words, but
The
But
B
this is
word.
it's about
wait,
separating the
real
art from
quick.
the artist as well. Because I'm not bullying him. Because you gotta keep in mind the intent. I'm not making my videos for Ikimoto. I'm making them for the audience who are gonna find it that like writing or Boruto or Naruto or whatever.
Well, there's that. For me, when I make like content, I'm actually trying to like, because I'm always conflicted. Okay, should I be talking about things that are like of more pressing matters, or like I said that weirdly, things I care more about deeply than just like comics and fucking cartoons and shit. So when I do try to like do content, I'll be like never stop dreaming, or I'll talk about mental health and I'll like weave that into the narrative, or I'll hey go do something positive. So I don't want to like condition an audience since I do have a bit of a platform, a smaller one, sure, but a platform. I don't want to like condition my audience to be what I would consider to be like cruel
Yeah.
for no reason. Because at this point, not everyone has like I want to like put like morals on people, but to me, like not everyone cares about that shit. Like, hey, I'm here for the money. Like, fuck all that like kumbaya shit you're talking about. That's fine. That's them. They do them. That's why I respect your perspective on it. You're here to do a certain thing. You're not here to talk to him. It's not really about him that much. It's really like, hey, you guy or fucking 15-year-old who's watching my video, right? Are you just gonna keep me like watching me constantly clown on a person who has deficiencies? And then you take that behavior and go somewhere else with the shit? Or are you going to hear me say, you know what, he has deficiencies, I'm sure he's working at it, but it's not like beneficial for me to keep like talking down on him? And then maybe if there's actually somebody he has like some relationship with or someone in the Discord server he's talking to, maybe he won't talk down on them because of the example he learned from that. Or maybe he does from the example he learns from me, right? So that type of shit. So I feel like a greater responsibility for the shit. It's not really about him that much. It's just like what kind of person I want to be. So that's on a deeper level, but that's really the point for me. Like I want to do things that make me feel like I'm a better person every day. So
Yeah.
that's why I say, you know what? I'm sick of like talking shit about this dude. He's here. He's improving very slowly. That's fine. And I always say it's not what you do, it's how you do it. There's a difference between criticism and constructive criticism, right? You never just leave a void, right?
Exactly.
And that's what happens when you criticize. Hey, this sucks. You leave. You say, well, fuck.
Exactly.
You've taken that from me, but you haven't replaced it with how I can make that thing that sucked better from your
That's
subjective
why if I
viewpoint.
critique the arc, I try to, at least in my videos, more so in the podcast, I try to present an alternative. Obviously, I'm not going to draw the image, but an alternative thing they could have drawn, or so I try to describe it.
Yeah.
Well, I
That
think
also
would be
gets
better.
iffy because then it's like, well, am I being arrogant into thinking that like I can do it better than him? He might not be doing it in comparison to other people, but compared to me, like, yeah, he's better. So it's also like knowing your role. Like, oh, slow the fuck down, sir. Just because you have takes on something doesn't even mean like you're like sometimes you're not even capable of providing constructive criticism. To be frank, you like anyone can criticize, but to actually like fill that gap, you might not even be qualified for that. So like, why even? So to me, it's just like this. It's an exercise in like I don't know, just cruelty, and it's just no point to it at this point. Like he's gonna listen to like some guy from like America. Like my
Exactly.
constructive criticism is gonna actually aid in him. So at that point, I'm just being like an asshole
Yeah,
online.
that's why I try not to, well, not try. I don't make it about Ikimoto, and I don't make it about, yeah, just about Ikimoto. 'Cause it's not for him, it's not about him. So again, it's about separating the art from the artist. I think is very important and making it constructive. That's something I pride me and Kamui on the podcast. I feel like we really hammer that home. It's not only do okay, it's both aspects. Not only do we point out the good and bad behind absolutely every single little thing. But we also, in addition to that, point out exactly why we think it's good and bad. And that's why we podcast for so long, in my opinion, because we just have so much to say. It's not that we are bad at communicating our thoughts, it's that we have too many thoughts. So even with being efficient, it's just too many thoughts. That's why it takes so long, in my opinion.
Well, I think the thing you're showing right now, I think 3 to 4 hours of that podcast was analyzing the Shinju in a positive way.
Yeah. And so it's really interesting because, like, obviously it's like a comedic aspect to it as well. I obviously don't want Boruto Tubu Vortex to be bad. Nobody does. We're the ones watching it. We're not haters. It's so funny because I can title something like this, I'm dropping Boruto Tubu Vortex, and as of right now, it's our most watched stream, like view-wise or whatever. It's so funny that something like that can get so many views, and there's a solid 30 comments in our comment section right now on this video being like, good, I hope you never come back, or oh, I bet you'll be reading it next month, blah blah. They didn't even watch the video. In the first like 5 minutes, you learn that it's not us who dropped it. It was actually Hot Boy Spicy, our guest, who dropped it, and it's like titled like this because it's like an interview of him why he dropped it. But the point is, they don't even watch it. They just comment it, and I think you know this is about the comment section just being the comment section. But for me, what I love doing is, again, it's not what you say, it's why you say it. It's not leaving the criticism, it's leaving the constructive criticism, because I like to view it from the the education aspect. The entertainment's just like passive. I like the entertainment aspect. There's a whole screenwriting education playlist on this channel. Some of those videos aren't even entertainment, they're just strictly education. That's why I have a whole screenwriting perspective channel in the first place. So for me, it's definitely about that, and that's what I think makes me qualified for talking on the writing in particular. You don't see me talking about the paneling when it's bad, because I don't know what bad paneling looks like. I can say when I think something is
We just point out
paneling.
whether we think it's good paneling or sometimes the art being goofy, like the sweat beads.
I've studied art. I'm not necessarily the best artist. I've like made a manga as my senior project or whatever in high school. But like I haven't drawn in years necessarily because it like hurt my hand. Sorry, because I've just drawn too much. But I know art, but like I'm not criticizing it as much because I don't know it to a professional degree. I would consider myself a professional screenwriter, so that's why I comment on that in particular. There's other aspects I don't necessarily comment on as much, but yeah, I feel like I'm qualified, but I feel like that addresses everything you said.
Yeah, like I would look at the other day. I was saying, oh, it would be really cool if he incorporated like more shading, because I think it would like add like a layer of depth, or fill the depth, like a depth. I'll say like that. That's just not there. I look at the hair. There's like the shadowing is not really there. It's just like blank. I think like just a simple thing like that, but like that's me saying, hey, here's a thing you can do to be better, versus here's this thing that you're bad at. Or here's this thing that you're bad at, but here's this thing that you can do better. It's like if you're working with a group of people, you want to like, hey, like this thing you did, like I think that was cool. Here's what I think you can do to add on to that, right?
Exactly.
So what I'm saying is get good, get better, but I'm saying it in a way that's not discouraging you, and that's like something you have to learn if you are ever in a position of leadership, how to like encourage people in a constructive and positive way. And I think that's the approach, but you know, it's nuanced. Like if you're trying to make content, I think it's different. I always tell people in the chat, don't conflate what you do or how you engage with this material with what we do, because like we're even if we make like a penny, we're making money off of this. Where you're spending time with this particular property. We're actually getting like some kind of like monetary benefit from it, or we're working towards it. But nevertheless, like it's just a different dynamic. Like when I sit here and like I clown Kawaki, it's not because I have some kind of personal animus for Kawaki, or I praise Konohamaru, or I advocate for Kaguya over Ishiki. I don't care all that much. Like it's not some like strong emotional tether I have to these characters. Not really. It's just mostly entertainment. Now, if every time you see me talk about or engage with shit is during live streams or like videos, which is the case because I don't know any of you in real life, then you're gonna have like this and understandably so, it's like skewed under like perspective of me and like what I actually think and believe and care about. But like, I'm one of the rare people who like will bring down the veil, take the mask off. I'm like, hey, this is me behind all this shit. Like, no, I'm not. I don't care about this shit. Now, whether you believe that or not is a different matter. But yeah, like if you want to do all that stuff, like analyze the series and break it down, I think it's perfectly valid. It's just me personally. I don't feel the need to like come at him in the same way that I was doing prior.
Yeah.
That's all.
There's some stuff that obviously is in education, very clearly jokes for comedic value, entertainment, or whatever that me and Kamui would say. At this point, I'm shocked that anybody takes us seriously on anything we say ever at all. Honestly.
I know.
It's ridiculous.
It almost feels like they don't take us seriously on the serious stuff and take us seriously on the jokes.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like people don't see. I hate saying it like this because it's like, but see, I don't even want to say it now. I just think like when people like watch your video and they just oh well good I'm happy you're not here. It's just people just lash out emotionally in a way that's just I understand it, but for whatever reason, every time it happens, I still get like I feel some kind of like annoyance or it's like tedious to me. It's just so. So then I look at myself like, why do I keep getting like triggered by this? Even if it's just a little bit, it's like you should expect people to be like this. Like I don't know. If they watch your live stream, and they're like trying to clown you about it or whatever the case may be. I think that's like expected. So
For
it's no
me,
point in getting like upset about it.
exactly. Well, for me, I don't even view it from that perspective. It's like it's like you can't bottle it up if there is no bottle. I know that's not like analogous because you're not bottling it up. But like my idea is that like I don't have to tell myself something because it doesn't annoy me in the first place. Like it doesn't get under my skin or make me feel bad or make me annoyed or anything. I don't even want to say I don't care. For me, it's like almost funny in a way. Like it's actually like a positive thing in a way. Just seeing it. I think the difference is I'm not necessarily seeing it as even if it's talking about me, it's not a personal attack against me. Like they don't even know me. They're not saying it about me. They're saying it about people like me or the concept of me. They're saying it about someone who would drop Boruto to Blue Vortex. So
Well,
it's
for
about
a few
the
things
idea
about
of
that.
dropping
Oh,
it
I'm
rather
sorry.
than
No,
about
please
the concept.
continue.
What's up?
No, my bad for interrupting. So I was like, I was thinking about just my perspective on. Sorry, this is gonna get too deep with this, but like just my perspective on like the spoken word, not like some in a biblical sense or whatever, but just like the actual power that like words have. Like I speak about like the chip being a vehicle in which you bring the sauce into your like that's all words really are. As I like break it down, it's just like a vehicle to like express or to deliver a type of either like a positive or negative type of stimulus or emotion or whatever the case may be to like yeah in that sense I think a conversation and words are so typical in our day-to-day lives that it becomes mundane. We don't really think that it's anything special or important, and we kind of like lose track of like the severity that it can have. And then you also get into people's egos to where they think if they acknowledge that they are affected by words, then that makes them look weak to some degree. All of that stuff. Like for me, for like if I were to break down why I get like irritated by comments, it's not necessarily what they're saying. It's um so it's gonna sound like a contradiction. It's not that they're saying it. It's the way they how do I want to say this?
It's how they're saying it and why they're saying it.
No, that's not even it. It's you I don't care if you say something. Like, I don't fucking care. Like that's not my thing. Where I come from, we like roast all the time. It's like it's not even a thing. It's that my ego gets involved. I already know what my personal issue with it is. When I do a lot of like work or research or whatever to like drop like an idea or a concept or like explain my conclusion, and then someone comes in to disagree with me, right? But they're wrong, and I like break down why they're wrong. It frustrates me because it's like, number one, how dare you come at me and you haven't done the work? It's like the
Yeah.
arrogance of you, like to talk so big and bold with your little chest out and you ass wrong. So if I don't address that, now you walking around out here thinking that you got one over on me, and you absolutely incorrect. And if I do address it, now I'm wasting my time talking to some like idiot in chat or whatever, and it's a waste of time. It's not productive. So it's like you just kind of have to like bite the bullet. And one thing I realized when I actually thought about it was, and the bullet that you bite is that you have to value your time and realize, let them think that they got one over you. That's just the position that you're gonna have to be in, because I don't have time to argue with every fucking fool who thinks they have a point. And if you have a point, I'll say, oh well, yeah, you have a point, I'll address it. But so many times it's like I I explain what they add. Like they'll ask me a question, I'm like, watch the video. It's in the video, bro. Like the thing you're asking me now, if I were to give you an answer, it'll be what I said in the very video you're commenting on. It's just like this weird level, and I feel emotion about it, so I call it stupidity and idiocy and whatnot. It's a little bit strong or harsh, but I think it's a lack of, I don't know, I don't actually care what it is. It just is. So like for me, it's like the audacity. So my ego gets involved. So once I find that once I get my ego in check, none of that shit matters. Like it all goes away. Like once I stop caring that, oh, they think they got one over on me, or the people who read the comment section or think they got one over me, that's all ego. Once I remove that from the equation, it actually doesn't matter. Like I don't care I know I'm right. It's not even like an arrogant thing. Like you're like objectively wrong, and I could explain that and go back and forth with you, or I can just know I'm right and not have anyone else know it, or some people will know it, they might not say nothing, and that's not stimulating, but it's like the correct choice in my position. And that's one thing I've had to like really understand, that the people who are doing that, they don't even have platforms. No one's going to listen to them. They won't matter. Their relevance is extended by me giving them more relevance in my community by addressing their dumb shit. If I just ignore them, they just get ignored. And then that's the best course of action for me. So it took me a long time to kind of like wrestle with that. But if you don't care about it, it's probably because you're not getting your ego invested in it in the same way that me personally I have. And I suspect a lot of other people are in their ego. It's not like, oh, you said a mean word. I don't fucking care about that. It's that you challenge me and you haven't like proven anything, or you haven't done the work. That pisses me off. Yeah. So that's my personal thing that I've been trying to get over. And I'm at the point now where like I can identify, okay, what's the intent of this comment? Oh, it's like malicious. Okay, this is not even like literally not even worth my time, effort, or energy. Like I get rid of that, I move on, and I'm good. In the past, I would get pissed off, like, how dare you come at me, and blah blah blah. So like it's just growth and maturity for sure. But yeah.
And even though I'm coming at it from a different perspective from you, I'm not saying that you're wrong or that I'm right, or because I don't even know if there is a right or wrong in this. There might not even be one. Like you could just be right. I don't know.
I don't think you can be. It's just how you feel about
it. In fact,
that's what I said from my perspective.
I'd go as far as to say you might have the majority opinion, like overwhelmingly. As far as I know, I have a brain condition that separates me from 90% of the population. I don't know. It's possible. The way I see it is, I mean, as you know, I love trolling people. I see it almost as an opportunity. When someone is ignorant or someone who's coming to hate me or whatever, how can I turn this into a win from my personal perspective? Even if they walk away thinking it's a win. Yeah. Like, it's a way to where it's like, how dare you drop Boruto Tubu Vortex? If I give them the win, be like, you know what? You're right. I'm picking it back up. It's funny because it's almost like I'm controlling them in a way.
Yeah, it's true. Like, that's the power of words. Like, words will manipulate you. And if you, like, pretend like words don't have weight or gravity, or that they don't have power, you're a fool. Like, oh, sticks and stones may break my bones. Whoever made that is an idiot. Like, words will absolutely like make or break you. A kind word, that's why I always say at the end of my streams, like, go out there and say something kind about somebody. You will make their day, regardless if they tell you or not. Just we're predisposed to like that kind of positivity. It's just something as simple as that. You can make or break someone's day, bro. Like, you can say, oh, give them a compliment and make them happy, or you can like talk shit about them and ruin their entire fucking day. Even if 99% of the people gave them compliments, you're the one that didn't. You're the one that fucked their whole day up, and you're just that guy that did that. So I don't know, man. It's just, I find that a lot of problems, like me personally, that I have, once I remove the ego shit, it's just like there's not. It's like fucking zen. It's like the waves just like settle, and I'm just it's smooth fucking sailing. It's always the ego with me. Like once I like check that, like there's like I won't say there's like no weaknesses, but like that's the way to get through the armor with me. Is like the ego thing, to challenge my ego. And once I realized that, like a few years ago, about maybe two or so years ago, 2.5 years ago, once I realized that, I've been slowly trying to like rein that shit in, like get a measure of it. And I think it's like that for a lot of people. That shit would be your own worst enemy, if you allow it to be. But I do find it interesting that like maybe you have like a different approach to like just maybe content creation.
It might be separating internet from real life people to some degree, whether that's consciously, subconsciously, I'm not sure, or to what amount that is. I don't know if it's even there at all. I'm just saying that as a possibility. It might not be that, because I feel like you might have like a normal standard view of it rather than an extreme view. I think I am just on the opposite aisle, just extremely so. I might have the most extreme opinion. Because like even in real life, like I remember like it was in elementary school, there was this kid who was like trying to be my bully. He didn't like try beyond this. It was like this one time. I don't remember why. Maybe he's like being picked on himself or something. I don't know. He wasn't a big kid. He in the bathroom, he like tried to choke me, but like either he wasn't strong or he wasn't applying a lot of force. And so because it didn't hurt, I just laughed and he stopped because I wasn't laughing at him. I was just laughing because I just thought it was funny. Like, I don't know. Like it didn't hurt. So that's,
yeah, just
I don't know, yeah.
How you approach things is everything, bro. Like it really does mean, yeah. Like I don't know. I think there's a lot more people like that than some may realize, that just don't have really that kind of issue. I don't know. It's just I don't know. Just for me, like just the whole thing with like the whole that's why like I try to make like an effort, because to me like my natural inclination is like demon time, like straight up, like just where I come from. Like it's just natural for me. Like I like any room I walk in, I'm like hella confident because I can handle myself physically and verbally. So I don't care. Like nothing you can bring to bear outside of like lethal damage that I'm even concerned about. So like for people, I don't know if it's so difficult to talk about this stuff for me personally, because like I don't know if I'm like overlaying my subjective experience on top of other people. Like, oh, this is like how it is for people, or is it just like, no, that's just a you thing, dude. Like, chill. But like, I can see it in other people as well. Like, when they have like problems with their ego, I can identify that. I'm like, oh yeah, you're fucked up right now because you have like an ego issue. Like, you got to pull that back a little bit. But fortunately for me, I don't I keep to myself IRL. So any issues I have with my ego is like, I don't know, like problems with like cartoon shit. Like, oh man, you said a thing about a cartoon that was
That's another
wrong. Like
aspect. Yeah, just
the implications aren't that, like there's no fatal, like there's nothing damaging to me or anything like that. Like I could easily shift a different topic or talk about a different type of show or series or genre and be just fine. Like nothing can destroy me because I'm talking about cartoons and comics.
exactly.
So I think that it's not that serious.
The subject matter starts at something not serious, so the conversation by default has that not serious angle going into it, even if it's a serious conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, but it just depends on where you're from, bro. Like, because we're obviously from two different places. Like for me, like words have power, like meaning. Like where I come from, if someone says something about you, it especially like guys, it typically means we're about to fight. Like words equal violence. Like if someone talks about you, you can't let that slide, because either you're gonna talk about them, you're gonna like kill them, like verbally, and then they're gonna want to fight you, or they're gonna kill you verbally, and you're gonna want to fight them, right? Because everything you talk gets silenced if I beat your ass. Because now, oh yeah, you can talk that shit, but like we already know what's gonna happen, right? So that's like the ultimate like silencer, and that's like just the culture I come from. It was always that. So when I get online, I had to like learn and adjust and be like, yo, I can't not only can't I just like lay hands on these motherfuckers, it's not even like beneficial for me to do that. Like,
Yeah.
so I think maybe because maybe your environment's a little bit different than mine, like just like from a starting point, it's not even like really that difficult for you. But for me, like I didn't like grow up in like Xbox lounges or whatever. I'm not saying that that's the thing that you did or whatever, or like waiting lounges or whatever the fuck people come from, like where people are just talking like fucking degenerates or whatever. I was like actually motherfucker talk shit about you, like, yeah, like meet me here. We about to like fucking throw hands. I'm about to beat the dog shit out of you. You gonna beat the dog shit. I be like, it's violence. Words violence. So I had to learn like, hey, online, words not violence. Like you have to like chill, pull that shit back. Cause I was literally about to like hire some dude to like track this motherfucker one time. Like when I first got online, I was on that was back when I was like still fucking crazy mellow. But yeah, I just think it's an effort to try to like be better. That's all.
Well,
Even if it doesn't come naturally.
stop me if this is getting too personal. In fact, that might have happened 30 minutes ago, but too late now. I think we could have, at least to some degree, I'm not saying it's the exact same, but started at a similar starting point. I'm not saying that we did start at different starting points. We might have started the same. I think for me, this could just be the difference is that we just personally are different, like a nature versus nurture type of thing, to where I'm not going to say like you thrived in that environment, but like I just hated that environment. So like I got out of it as quickly as possible because like I hated that militant attitude of respect and discipline and all this. Like I can just do that myself without it being beat into me or whatever. Like literally, like I was saying, elementary school, I'm being choked out. So
Well, it's just for like I go to like a high school. It's like in the hood, right? I mean, not even grade school. It's in the hood, right? I have my first like fight at like 7 years old or whatever, single digits. Dude walks up, punch me, and I got black eye, right? So it's like it was always fights, and I always like ran my mouth to be fair,
yeah,
but it was always fist fights. Some people pull knives, so I always understood talk shit, get hit, like straight up, like words, violence, words. There's no distinction there because what you can't do is allow somebody to like do that to you, punk you or whatever, say that shit to you because if you do, then everyone does it. And now you're like everyone's bitch, and now you have no peace. So like through that violence, at the other end of it is like respect. Every single time I fought somebody, whether I won or lost, it was respect afterwards because I always gave them hell no matter what, and they knew it was too much resources and efforts to fuck with me. So that's how like when I'm talking single digits, middle school, that's where the knives kicked in. High school, it was only in high school that I started going to like different like little schools and shit like that, right? Um, we can switch topics if you want to. I don't care. We can talk
no,
about
it's
Boruto.
fine. You can if you want to. But
To where I'm like in a different environment. So now I like so like now I'm not in the hood environments anymore in high school. I'm like in more like rural areas or like more mixed. So now I'm like, well, I come from this place and these motherfuckers talking shit in this place. Oh no, I'm not having it. So now I like dominate there. So I don't know. I always just have this like wherever I go, I'm gonna be the fucking alpha. Like I'll sit back and like chill, but like nobody's about to like fucking alpha male me. Like there's just no shot because where I come from, if that's the case, you a bitch. Because everybody gonna be punking you. So it's just like, yeah, it's 100% different environments. Um, yeah, I just wasn't like always online and shit. I didn't because I always knew like motherfuckers talk shit online, I can't do nothing about it. You talk to me in person, like I'll beat your ass, like straight up. So that's why I always prefer to like engage with shit in real life when I did. So like transitioning to online was like an adjustment for like years. That type shit.
yeah,
But now that I'm maturing a lot more. I kind of realize, yeah, like I don't once you like check the ego shit, because like you gotta know like the source of where that shit comes from. And for me, I've narrowed it down to that. Once I regulate that, like every single, like almost damn near every mistake I've made, even online or just in general, it always boils down to ego. And once I check that shit, I find that it's just smooth fucking sailing. So, yeah.
yeah. I mean, maybe the difference is I've lived or started in both environments, so I got a taste of both, and then I just sort of leaned towards the one I preferred a little bit later on in life. But like, even if it's not the exact same, I still feel like I came from the same idea of like the tough Georgian, Southern, poor, gun tootin', knife holding, F slur saying environment. To some extent, I still got that militant background. To some extent, like I feel like I have stories that would surprise you, but like I feel like I just moved out of it to at least to an extent. But like even then, like I still had like friends and everything that were like going to prison, or even like one that was I sat next to a kid that was on the death row. You might know him just based on local news, but I won't talk about that here. But I think you get that
Put your
point.
friend on blast. Yeah.
I knew a kid who set a building on fire.
Yeah, Kamui on the
What
other
a
hand comes from
detective.
a rich, privileged background, so I feel like he doesn't get to talk on this.
That's not even true. It's not a rich, privileged background, but it's more simple. I just never got involved with what we like to call the Oakland Town Gang, which is not an actual gang. It was kind of a meme, but like
The
still.
Oakland Town, like the Oakland Town gang.
But
Not
it
one
was
of
kind
them,
of a
like
meme
the.
because these are like the kids who got in trouble. We'd go into jail for drugs and shit. And they like we'd see them walking around like the neighborhoods.
In fact,
but
Kamui,
like,
have you ever even been offered drugs?
have I been offered drugs? Yes. Have I ever
Okay.
taken the offer? No.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
like
was gonna
that like shit
differentiate
like
that,
that
but-
was like they used to have like my elementary school like on the ground like during PE they would have like it's like little needles for people who like were shooting up shit. I don't even know what they were shooting up, but we used to see them all the time. They had these people come like pick them up and shit. It was like in the playground, like it was that kind of environment I grew up. Like shit was rough. Like I don't. I think they condemned my elementary school recently, like 5 years ago. My mom told me about that shit.
Hmm.
Oh yeah, then you go here, blah blah blah, that type of shit. So I don't know, man. It's just if you come from that environment and you just come into like the online shit, it's just an adjustment. But like once you kind of like make the adjustment, it's just it really all just starts with you. Like once you figure out like where all that shit comes from, for me it's ego. For some people it might be something else or whatever the case may be. You just gotta find a fix for that shit. And once you do, let's just, see what happens next. But
Yeah,
yeah.
it's basically overcoming a character flaw in stories. Literally what you did. You figured
Yeah.
out what like your flaw was in that regard and figured out a way around it.
The
Yeah,
difference.
it's tough too because like you kind of like need ego for like ambition, like driving type shit. So like the thing that like it's just like I can't get rid of it, but I have to manage it. So I have to figure that shit out. Like, and everyone's case is different. So I mean, I maybe take advice about like general shit, but like you just have to, number one, want to be better and all that shit. So I don't know. I just think like you see a person actively trying to be better, just like, kind of, you know, yeah.
Okay, I think there's two different aspects outside of passive nature versus nurture, that would separate us, but like a push and pull in two different directions is one. I was never, and again, stop me if I'm being too personal or doxing you or anything. Stuff you've said publicly. I was never like forced into an environment. Like I know you had to go to military school. You didn't have the choice. You didn't get the option. You just were forced into doing that.
Military school was no. Military school was not no. Military school was good for me. That was structured.
Yeah,
I was
sure.
actually around like, men, that type of shit. Like that got me out of certain environments. That was a good, even though we were like fighting and shit in there, but it was like more structured. That's the structure was good. Yeah, but the forced part was like, hey, I have to go to the school because like this is just where my family lives, bro. Like I can't like at 12 leave, right? Like so that was like really the forced part. But for the most part, I wasn't really like in the streets. But like
Yeah.
there were people who were in my schools and in my environments that I had to fucking deal with. So I was not like roaming the streets or anything. Like we had a house. I lived with my aunt, but like that type of shit. But yeah, please continue. Please continue.
I mean, if I ever did do anything that would require military school, I at least never got caught. The other aspect, I can't speak for you on this, but I had found reasons to turn around, change, turn over a new leaf, be a good person, etc., etc., just by finding friends that I loved and cared for and that were actually genuinely good people. And I attribute that almost entirely to luck, if not fate, even. Or maybe,
Oh shit.
circumstances,
We gotta talk
environment.
about fate. We gotta talk about fate.
Bringing it into Boruto. Nice segment. No, but I found
But
those
yeah,
reasons that
I
made me
respect it.
personally want to change. And so whether that's earned or given to me or whatever, I had those. And again, I can't speak for you, but from what I've heard so far, I haven't heard you say something like that. So I don't know.
No, it's like no. See, even in my environment, I was always different. Like I'll always say this, but like when people were saying like LMNP and scrawl and screet, I was always like, I even as a kid, I remember actively like despising people who said it that
Yeah.
way because it's like a way to say it. So I would say street, straw, LMNOP. Like I would be like LMNOP like in class and shit. Like I would actively like you motherfuckers. So maybe that kind of like developed some kind of like superiority complex or some shit since I'm like psychoanalyzing myself or whatever at like fucking single digits. But even in my environment, I was like always like fucking different. And like everything I fucking did, I succeeded at. Like grades, sports, girls, like whatever the fucking kid. I never had a problem with anything that I actually put my mind to. So that's something that's kind of weird. And then also I'm like hella shit about my family, just the truth. Like if I was to say, oh, am I like a functioning true adult by myself? Probably not. Like I always have family. I have like a rotating door of family members always coming in and helping me with shit. Everybody got a key to my apartment. Like so, I really don't have to do adulting ever in my entire life. I've never had to actually be like an adult. To be fair, to be honest, so like I'm like super sheltered from like the hood shit, but I was in the hood shit, so I had to deal with it. But I was also like a nerd. I was always into Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, all that shit. That's why like I lean on the shit now, where I make content about that shit now. Because when I made YouTube, that was coming from like a dark place. So I had to lean on some shit that would make me that would make me happy. And that was like cartoons, comics, anime. That's the whole reason why I even chose to start talking about that shit. I wanted to be like politics or some shit like that, but that was not a good like thing for my mental health at the time. But yeah. So like I didn't have friends that I stuck with. I always had friends, but like for whatever reason, ADHD that I didn't know I had at the time. I just drifted away from people and just spend time in my own world, just not call people for like months, and then that should dive the friendships. But for the most part, it's like anime and all that shit kept me on a different path. Like the nerdy shit kept me from like the street shit, the drug shit. Plus I had like bad examples in family members. I'm so anti like I don't even like Tylenol. I don't do any drugs, I don't do any fucking alcohol, never have, never will. Outside like maybe one bong hit, wanted to get laid by this one girl with cats and shit. But outside of that situation, I'm fucking anti all that shit. So yeah, like it's I had things, but I didn't have like people. It was just always on me, really, to be honest. But
And I think it's important to acknowledge the fact that most of those problems, if not arguably all of the problems you just listed, ADHD, or family members, or your environment, or anything, that's not your fault. I think that's critical to acknowledge. Even some things that can add up, I've heard a therapist describe it like a statue. It's like throwing a stone at a statue. You do it once, it's not going to do anything. It's not going to leave a crack. You do it every day over the course of 10 years, that can start leaving some cracks in the foundation. That can start tearing up that statue.
yeah, perhaps. Because I was like, it was so funny. Like when I get on YouTube, it's like, oh, Mel's so arrogant. He thinks he's better than everybody. That's like, what? Am I? Like I actually had to think about it. I was like, because I didn't like nobody ever said anything like that, and I was like, oh, I guess I kind of am in some ways. And then I started thinking like, okay, well, given my environment I come from, like how, like me compared to like the average fucking kid, it's like, yeah, like always like maybe like a cut above. So I was like, okay, maybe I make some adjustments on that. But like, it's this weird thing. It's like people have this like idea about you. It's like, oh, you think you're better than everybody. It's like, well, truth is, I do think I'm better than everybody, but I didn't tell you that. But like, obviously, I'm doing things that make you pick up on that like reality. So it's like, then I have to like say, okay, well, just because I think I'm better than everybody, is that like a bad thing? And I'm like, okay, well, maybe it's a bad thing how I'm like coming off. Maybe it's not like inherently bad. It's just I'm coming off like a dick. So maybe I need to like, push back a little bit on that. Because the truth is, I'm a very confident person given my lived experience. So if I walk into any circumstance or situation, I'm super confident in my ability to succeed. because that's just how it's always been. Whenever I've tried to do something, with like actual effort, but the problem is I'm like fucking chill all the time, so I rarely try to do shit. But yeah, so it's just the different. It's like I was so sheltered when I got online. I was exposed to shit that like you think isn't like you would think this stuff is like kind of like maybe normal. I would imagine, but for me, like it was like mind blowing because I had only ever been around people in structured environments like work or school, where people had like incentives to not like be complete assholes. But when I'm online for the first time, really in a long like in a while, in this way, I'm getting exposed to like actual people unfiltered. It was fucking a lot for me initially. So I had to like kind of deal with that. But I've been doing it long enough now to where like I kind of settled in and feel comfortable. But when I first started, that shit was tough. It was like the whole background, me wanting to like fight everybody, me being on absolute fucking demon time. But at the same time, just like I wanted to help people with mental health because I was going through that shit at the same time too. So I had like a goal I wanted to achieve, but I was always getting in my own way with the whole ego shit. So it was just like as no matter what I've been through online, I can 100% say that it was like needed because I needed to experience different types of people. That's why it threw me for a loop. I started debating people because I could not believe people debated disingenuously. I know it sounds so fucking naive. It blew my fucking mouth. Like, wait, you're arguing for a point you don't fucking believe? Like, I couldn't process it because I was so sheltered before getting online. I never really dealt with people like that. Like, I always argued for positions I believed in. I was always trying to like genuinely, I didn't even conceive of the idea of doing the opposite. So yeah, like online has been like really just from my lived experience, it's been so fucking beneficial because I've just been exposed to like different people in an environment that's truly not harmful. You can like online shit can be harmful if you make it, but like there's no physical harm to be frank. So even like bad ups and downs, it's all just been in an environment that's just kind of like a safe little sandbox where I can just like learn how to actually interact with people. So I can definitely say like online shit has just been kind of beneficial to me personally, even if it's like kind of fucking annoying people are, but still it's beneficial.
I don't even know in comparison which side of that extreme I lean on as a kid. Because in some regards, I feel like I started off in a very bad, dark place, like you were saying, filled with hatred, abuse, neglect, undiagnosed PTSD, maybe, I don't know. It's coming from a really bad place and a really bad person. Then I just started changing my life around really, really early on. But then at the same time, I was exposed to all that, but I still feel like I was still very sensitive as well. It's like overexposure, yet it feels like it came across as unexposed in some regards. Only in the overexposed regards did I feel like it didn't matter. Like I was confused why other people had like relationships that like made them sad because they cared when I didn't care in regards to those same relationships because I never had the reason to. It's like, why are you crying over this when I just didn't understand because I never built that, but then I started building other things later in life. But again, it's like a thing to where like I feel like I'm a very sensitive, vulnerable person in other regards, which is really weird. I don't know, maybe my development is like backwards from what should have been the case.
Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like people I love how Kamui just sitting here listening.
I know.
Yeah, very much.
I'm like, you're gonna chime in with your sad story, but okay, I'm waiting for the doo 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 doo. Well, my brother destroyed my clan. Um, but yeah, no, I think it's so weird, right? Because the funny thing is everyone's fucking sensitive. Like that's why I say like even when people are like, oh I don't care. It's no you care. You just don't care very much maybe, but you still do care. The fact that you told me that tells me you care. It's like but it's like in our like global society, we all just want to like kind of get away from the like emotional shit because it's like declaring some kind of weakness and then people are gonna pounce because people are fucking shitty typically. Unfortunately, I, I've learned that since I've been online. more so than not. So yeah, like that's a thing. So you're like disincentivized from doing that. I suppose like I think the unfortunate, not even my problem at this point, but I think the unfortunate thing is at some for whatever reason, like people lean into the more darker or negative aspects or elements of humanity online in particular, because there's again like somewhat of a safe space for you to like indulge in whatever little proclivities you want to get into without typically too much of a negative side effect when it comes to like a harm on your physical body. You have people like leaning into like those more darker aspects of humanity, but for me, I think it's like a coping mechanism. Like if like it's like you're jumping in mud with everybody else because if you're like clean, you kind of like stand out or whatever the case may be. Almost like an illness that you want to like get like what's the word I'm looking for when you get sick but you like immune to it and inoculated, maybe that's the word I'm looking for. So you like expose yourself to the sickness so that you can develop some kind of like immunity to it
Yeah,
or
it's like
whatever the
what
case may be.
vaccines are for. It's like, I mean, you have a resistance, you get
Yeah,
antibodies, like stuff like
exactly.
that.
But I think it's so like sad that people even have to do that. And I think like a lot of people don't even know that that's what they're doing on one hand. And then on the other hand, I think, well, maybe you're projecting this onto people and people do know what they're doing. You shouldn't like try to like make them like almost treat them like children and just say, hey, yeah, like some people are genuinely shitty. They know it and they like it. And just because you like, hey, like I did a bad thing, like let me like ponder on this shit and like maybe what can I do to improve and be better? Not everyone's like that. So stop. That's one thing I had to fucking learn. Stop trying to like overlay your shit onto other people because it's not necessarily the truth. Um, so that there is like super important. But yeah, it's difficult being vulnerable online for some people. For me, I don't in that regard, it doesn't threaten like my ego. It's like nothing you can like if I disseminate any kind of like stuff that you think is personal, I put that out there, right? Like anything you know about me, I've said it, right? Some of it's not some stuff, personal stuff, I kind of tinker with a little bit in terms of like, certain things just out of like security purposes, but the gist of it is, yeah, like maybe change a name or two, a month or two, a day or two, that type of shit. But outside of that though, that shit doesn't bother me, bro. Like if I talk about mental health, it's about, oh man, you're like miserable because yeah, well, true. Like I said it, yeah, no, you're right. I put that out there. But the benefits, like maybe I can say something about mental health and it can help somebody that needs to hear it. Because I've gotten so many DMs and messages about people saying like, oh yeah, like that thing you said at the end of one of your videos, I really needed to hear that. I even had people like come to me when I first started doing YouTube, telling me like it was heavy, it was too much, and I really, oh, I'm not equipped for this. Like what I was like trying to make this connection with people who are going through something similar to me, and I was like, oh, I'm not. I told my mom, and she was like, they sent you what? I was like, yeah, like what do I do? Like what do I say to this person? Like they're like suicidal and like they're on the edge right now. Like what the fuck do I do? Like, and she was like, she approached it from a legal standpoint. Like, yo, listen, you might be liable. Like you need to just direct them to this number and like back up. Like you're not a professional, blah blah blah. So that felt so shitty. This one guy, he messaged me on Twitch of all places. I don't know why on Twitch. I wasn't even on Twitch that much. This one guy, it was deep, and I felt so shitty just telling like, and he was like, "Oh, I'm from a different country, so that's not the number." And I was like, if I was going through something like that, the last thing I would want is for someone to give me a number, like, and it was just so difficult of a situation. So I had to make sure like I that's why like when I say like, oh, like we're not friends, I said it to my audience. Like we're don't get this like weird parasocial fucking relationship with me. Like we're not friends. I know you like listen to me a lot or whatever. I do that for a reason. It's not because I'm trying to be a dick or an asshole. It's because I'm trying to like let you guys know, like, hey, it's really easy to drift into that shit, into thinking like just because you listen to me or whatever the case may be, like we're fucking buddy or whatever the case may be, like be careful with that shit. 'Cause I made that mistake when I first started doing YouTube, and that shit got heavy. I even have conversations. I'll never say this person's name because I'm not like that. But I ain't gonna say that. Just certain like content creators, like I've had like very deep personal conversations with them, a few of them, and I even found that to be like, whoa, I gotta take a step back, and this shit's heavy. But I feel so shitty because like it just stops abruptly, and I don't want to like explain to them why, because then that might just add on extra baggage, and then now maybe they think I'm an asshole for whatever the case may be. And then also it's like, fuck, like I don't want to ask this person for a collab because then they're gonna think that I'm only doing this so I can get like some benefit from it. When in actuality, I'm like really interested in helping people with mental health problems for several reasons. So I don't know, it's difficult to navigate, but I do find it all just so interesting. Just like the human experience, and mine in particular, just what I'm doing right now online and just engaging with people and all that shit. It just, I don't know, just fucking, it's life. It's fucking a thing that's happening. It's like really interesting, and I'm just kind of like rocking with it. It's very
Yeah.
fun. Very fun.
It's funny. I actually have a very similar experience helping a certain content creator. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if it's the same one, through some very serious, heavy stuff. Again, I find it like the same thing, almost like a need to do it.